What's up, guys? Myself, head coach Mike. We're here with you today. We want to talk about a couple of topics. We just finished training, and so we thought it'd be a good time to talk about a warm-up and active recovery. And so I want to pick Mike's brain. He's been in this for a long time. He's been through the ups and downs. He's learned the benefits of warm-up and active recovery, and also the downfalls if you don't do it. So, Mike, I want to hear from you. What is a warm-up, and why do we do it?
So a warm-up has a few purposes, one of which is to prepare our central nervous system for what we're about to put it through in a workout.
Hold up, what's your central nervous system?
So central nervous system is basically, it's what our body uses to kind of regulate itself. So without getting too technical, it's basically...
It's your brain and spinal cord? Sends
And
out
that's
signals,
the gist
tells
of
your
it.
body what to do.
It's just kind of regulating what's going on with your body, whether you are up-regulating it or down-regulating it, whether you're getting ready for something like a workout or getting ready to go to bed, you want to down-regulate your central nervous system.
Yeah, so up-regulating it, it's like your central nervous system is saying, I want to turn off everything that's not necessary for exercise. I'm going to turn on everything for exercise. So that
For sure.
warm-up helps with that.
For sure.
What else does it help
So
with?
it also helps to prepare the muscles, joints, ligaments, all that good stuff. For the ranges of motion, we're about to put those through as well, which is very important, especially as we get older. Want to make sure that when we warm up, we're prepping to move through full range of motion for things like squats, hinging, anything to do, especially with the shoulder. We want to make sure that's ready to go.
Yeah, so it's like you want to get your joints sliding and gliding the way they're supposed to.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I've felt that before. If I just jump straight into a workout without warming up, I feel like an old creaky man.
Oh, yeah.
I need some WD-40 on my joints.
It's kind of like, a lot of people are like, well, I use, to warm up for a run, I run, which kind of makes sense. You're on a little slower. But if you've noticed when you do that, everything feels nice and tight. That first 2 or 3 minutes, you feel like your lungs are on fire, just can't catch your breath. So you haven't upregulated that system yet. You haven't got the joints ready to really move. So if you've ever run to warm up for a run, that not necessarily the best thing to do when it comes to actually performing in your run.
Yeah, okay, so what about workouts in here? So CrossFit is, high intensity, constantly very functional movement.
For sure.
So why is warm-up super crucial for an intense workout in CrossFit?
So it really depends. So like today, we've got a shorter duration workout, something that's going to last kind of somewhere between 4 and 8 minutes for most of our clients. And for a workout like that, especially with 2 very dynamic movements through a long range of motion, the warm-up is going to be a little longer. It's going to be a little less intense, and then gradually become more intense as we have moved our body through those full ranges of motion.
Okay, so like if the workout's super short and intense, you can expect a longer warm-up to prepare your mind and body?
For sure. So, just the common thought of it, if you got a 3 or 4 minute workout, a 10, 15, 20 minute warm-up is going to be ideal because you are just going to light it up and go. Just hit that gas pedal and go when we get going. And you want to make sure everything's good to go. You don't just fire up your engine in your car when it's cold out and put it in drive and just hammer it down, right? Don't want to do that with our body as well. On the flip side, we've got workouts in here that are a little longer. Typically, the longer workouts are a little less technical, a little less dynamic, meaning the load is probably a little lighter. Maybe the movements are not quite as explosive. And so the warm-up for those are probably going to be a little shorter. Just something to kind of maybe get our joints ready to move and make sure that we understand what we're doing before we knock it out.
Nice, man. Warm-up's super important, I agree. Okay, so active recovery. This is in between or post-workout, and but it's a term that we throw out a lot that people may have heard, but I think it may be misunderstood. Like, what is it? How do you do it?
For sure. So active recovery has a few ways to approach it. For me, I like to think of it especially as if I've got an active recovery day on a day after a really intense workout. Typically, it's going to be something that mirrors some of the movements or complements some of the movements that I performed the day before, so that I am somewhat taxing those muscle groups and joints, but it's going to be at a very minimal effort, and it's usually going to be done under way more under control. So if I'm, for instance, if I'm doing something like a clean and jerk or a snatch, I'm probably going to do something that's going to allow my hip to hinge and then also to contract my glutes as well, but in a non-dynamic way. So something like holding like a reverse plank or a tabletop plank where I'm engaging those hips, similar to what I would do in that dynamic piece, but again, it's kind of holding it instead of being dynamic with it.
Okay, so if I understand this right, it could be something related to something that you've done recently.
Mm-hmm.
But you're just doing it lighter, not as intense or fast. Yeah. You're kind of going through the motions, caring more about technique.
For sure. Range of motion, spending times in the end range of motion, not really under a load. So again, like I said, something we did on last week, we did those dumbbell snatches. So I spent time doing lightweight single arm Russian kettlebell swings. Very under control, only used a 26-pound kettlebell. And then I also spent time holding a tabletop plank. Okay. So really working that posterior chain through that range of motion that was similar to the snatch, but it was under control, a lot less stress with it.
Okay, what else could be considered active recovery? Does it have to be exactly related to what you just did? Or
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It could be something dissimilar, something that is not necessarily complementary to what you just did. But also, anytime you're doing active recovery, for me, it's something that's going to be in that 50 to 60% effort. So we're definitely dialing the intensity back. With an active recovery, probably going to go a little longer than you normally would. So if my workout was a 4 to 8 minute workout, active recovery might be something where I am moving through similar ranges of motions or even different for 15 or 20 minutes, just kind of getting that heart rate in that 50 to 60% range.
Okay, so like I could just, go out and walk or run something that's going to get my heart rate up a little bit where I'm breathing, but I'm still going to be kind of conversational. I can still say a full sentence.
For sure. Yeah, so, like conversational running, especially something after, like what we did last week with the snatches, the burpee box jumps, getting out and doing just some like a nice easy 200 meter jog and then say a 100 meter walk, 200 meter jog, some intervals like that where you're never going more than a conversational pace even in that jog. It would be a great way to actively recover from something like that.
Okay, so what if I have been coming into the box every single day? Like I came Monday through Wednesday, I show up Thursday because I just wanted to see all my friends. I wanted to be there for the WOD. The WOD looked cool, but I walk in, I'm feeling a little bit beat up.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. If you came in, if you're wanting to treat it as an active recovery, so I use like today's workout for reference. Today we're doing clean and jerks, we're doing bar facing burpees. The prescribed weight is 135 for the men, 95 for the ladies, and it's a bar facing burpee with a jump over the bar. Something that I would do to kind of make that into an active recovery is, one, I would scale that weight back on the clean and jerk. I know the 135 is definitely manageable for me in that workout, in that time demand that we're looking for. So I would probably scale it back to like a 95 or maybe even a 75 pound bar and work on the technique for the clean and jerk, work on really getting my elbows through quickly on the clean and dropping under the bar on the jerk. And then on the burpees, maybe even scaling that back to a plank burpee and stepping over the bar instead of jumping over the bar. So I'm getting the heart rate up a little bit, working through those ranges of motion, getting some technique work on that clean and jerk, while also not just completely destroying myself with the intensity.
Wow, that's great. So you could even treat the daily WOD as an active recovery, so it's like already a part of your normal schedule.
For sure. And that's a great thing to do. You bring that up as active recovery. Doesn't necessarily always have to have an active recovery day just because you've worked out 3 or 4 days in a row and you've kind of beat yourself up. It could be, hey, I had a rough night last night. One of my kids was up sick. We were up late, didn't get much sleep, or deadlines at work, lots of stress. Maybe you notice that you haven't eaten as well the last few days, so nutrition's been off a little bit, joints feel a little creaky. If you like to track heart rate and that kind of stuff, and you've noticed that your resting heart rate seems to be a little higher than normal, those are all good times to treat a workout as an active recovery And that active recovery, or treating them as an active recovery, is actually going to help you recover and be better prepared for the next day.
Wow, that's good stuff. Thanks for your input today, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
But we want to tackle more topics like this. So shoot us any questions you want, because we want to share our knowledge. We want to share our experience. We want you guys to be set up for success, to have the best quality of life that you have.
For sure.